Afternoon and welcome to this first lecture of the course of Social Issues of the Information Society. My name is Roberto Masiero and Professor Camilla Bellini will share the teaching of this course with me. And we are introducing ourselves. So as far as I'm concerned, I've been teaching this course now for a few years. So I've seen entire generations of your colleagues that are now successful managers in the industry. And the course changed dramatically since its first editions. Because, of course, technology is changing, because the world is changing quickly. And today's lecture is an introductory lecture. In order to understand, first of all, what are we talking about? What are the objects? What are the contents? How we are going to work together? What is the form of assessment? What we expect from you? And certainly, we will be very interested to understand what you expect from us, because it's an exchange. Teaching is an exchange exercise. You learn more than what you teach. Now, and this is why the course has changed so much in the few years that we have been giving it. So I'm teaching this course, and I'm teaching the course in the second year, that's digital economy. Digital economy is an optional course where we are going to go a lot deeper into a number of issues that you're going to touch in this course. And in particular, we are gonna, this course is for people who have, how to say, the entrepreneur virus. Those of you who would like to do their own, to launch their own startups. Those of you, welcome. Those of, please make yourself comfortable. Those of you who are interested in working professionally as managers in larger corporations. Those of you, of course, who have a particular interest in the management of digital economy. Those guys, those girls, certainly can find a very interesting program in order to prepare them to a successful professional life after leaving this university. As I was saying, I am not just teaching at this university. I'm president of the innovation group. That's probably the largest innovation consulting company in Italy. I've been formerly president of the international operation of IDC, International Data Corporation, so I've been spending my whole life in the area of market research on information communication technologies. And certainly prepared to share these experiences with you. Camilla, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Professor Camilla Bellini, and I'm here to support and share teaching activities with Professor Masiero. Still, I'm teaching with him starting from 2017, so almost 10 years. And so it's a pleasure again to be here with you this year. And my background, so I am working in a research, in market research area. I'm working in the innovation group with Professor Masiero, and I've also a background in Big Four consultancies and other system integrators in Italy. So I always worked in IT, innovation, and data economy in the end. So, welcome.
Okay, good. So here we are, and now let's move on to the course. The course is named Social Issues in Information Society, but is a module of a two-part course, that's Juridical and Social Issues in Information Society. So we are discussing, on one hand, social impacts of information society, social aspects, characteristics, how to move inside the information society from the social, economic standpoint. On the other side, we are giving you juridical tools in order to deal with the professional aspect of managing the issues that are related to the information economy. Professor Bellini and I are teaching this first module that's gonna to be virtually completed by November 3rd, virtually, not actually, you see. And starting from that moment, Professor Stefanovici will take over juridical issues in information society. Talking about this course of social issues in information society, I try to give you at least a first imprinting. The course, yes, it will be nice. It's better not to touch the computer. That's the first instruction. The course offers a deep dive into the relationship between technology, economy, and society in the era of digitalization and AI. It's pretty generic, you understand, just to understand what you're talking about. So here you can discover how AI and the data revolution are reshaping our world. The model empowers you to master its tools while understanding the social, economic, and ethical challenges that define the digital era. Great. These are our email addresses, and these are our WebEx room. We have certainly prepared to meet with you if necessary, if you require it, on a call in order to clear specific aspects that you can be interested in to delve into. Lecture timetable, you already know, Monday, 1:30, 3:30, actually 3:15, we said, because for those who arrive last, we decided to finish all lectures at 3:15 in order to make sure that you can not miss the beginning of the following lecture at 3:30 in Building 14. On Friday, 2:30, 4:30. The course will actually start today. The last lectures will be held on November 3 and January 9. The information that we are going to give you in the first part of these lectures, aims and contents of the course. The syllabus is not fully complete. You're going to complete it later because we had the problems with the site, not unusual. But in any case, we are going to give you all the relevant information during this lecture, and you will find it later inside the syllabus. Teaching form, recommended readings, and assessment method. The second part of today, I hope, I trust that you are going to be able to address the first part of our program, that's the relationship between the cognitive revolution and the information age. According to the concepts that are coming from, on one hand, an Israeli academic, the Yuval Harari, on the other hand, from a very important philosopher, the professor Luciano Floridi. So aims, you already said this. There are three objectives, that I want you to keep in mind. And you have to measure the success of this course on the basis of the achievement of these three objectives. The first objective is this one. The module Social Issues in Information Society is instrumental in providing students with an overall understanding of the domains that are going to benefit most from the AI and data revolution. So you need to have a clear understanding of which are the hot areas where you should invest your life. Your life is important. It's important that your career is addressed in the areas that are most potential. So we are going to try to decode, to understand which are the most promising, potential areas where you should focus in your future career. The second one is they're going to benefit and in helping you to experience a more successful professional career path in the future. That not just the sector, the domain where you're going to work, but even the kind of career that you want to address. So from this standpoint, it's very important that we give you or share experiences in order to understand what the best direction for you in terms of a management career, an activity in venture capital, opening up a startup, whatever, where, in which country, world is great. So from this standpoint, it's very important to give you even indications that can be useful for you personally, for your defining your future career path. So, the module should prepare you also to identify and understand the relevant patterns of social, environment, and economic phenomena, as well as the philosophical and ethical implications related to digital economy and society. And I know that some of you can say, okay, that's a little bit of rubbish. Okay, rubbish, eh? So, who's this guy? Non si vede. Ah. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who knows it? Say it again? Excuse me, I cannot hear you. It's frankly. Let me come close to you so that. You are alive thanks to this guy, because otherwise all of us will be dead. This guy is Stanislav Petrov. On September 26, 1983, Stanislav Petrov was a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet army, was on night duty. In his bunker, he had to monitor the data sent by satellite spying on US weapons movements. Suddenly, his screens indicated that 5 intercontinental missiles had been launched from a base in Montana. So think that you are yourself, that you are Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, and you are sitting in your bunker, and you see 5 big missiles coming to hit your country. What do you do? Petrov knew very well what he was supposed to do in the event of a preemptive nuclear attack by the United States. He knew that once he reported to his superiors, the alarm would climb up the chain of command and within minutes trigger a massive retaliatory operation. Ballistic missiles would be launched, enough to destroy strategic targets in England, France, West Germany, and the United States. But it was a time of extreme tension between the two superpowers, but Petrov was not convinced. He had doubts. He said, seems unreasonable. So put yourself in the seat of Petrov in that moment. What would you do if you have a doubt? Would you start up the alarm chain? And he knew his duty, but reasoned that a preemptive strike, one that will trigger World War III, and a nuclear one at that, could never begin with just 5 missiles. And in the space of just a few seconds, he made the most important decision of his life and of ours. He interpreted the signal as a satellite error. Historians write that what the Soviet satellite interpreted as the launch of 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles was in fact sunlight reflecting off clouds. The history, but not Colonel Petrov. In recent years, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov has received many honors around the world, so not in his homeland. He actually died in poverty. And his story only came to light many years later, partly because, as he's like to say, after all, I just decided to do nothing. So, this, of course, was certainly very complex and tough decision to take. I don't ask you what you would have done. Think about it yourself. And think that you could be in different positions with different responsibilities in a situation where you don't have to make the decision yourself, but you have a computer with a nice algorithm that's being written by some of your colleagues that could make the decision on your behalf. Would you leave that computer to make the decision on itself? Or would you decide that, irrespective of the fact that there is state-of-art artificial intelligence inside, you decide to take over and take the decision yourself? It's a lot bigger responsibility than Petrov. And this applies not just, of course, to nuclear weapons, but applies to whatever decision has to deal with an algorithm that is embedded into a machine, and you have to decide if you want to be in or on or out, if you can, because it's even possible that you are definitely out of the loop. In many cases, we are already out of the loop. That's the bulk of the issue, one of the key issues that you're going to address. And of course, I'm leaving this to the final lectures of this course, because before we need to put together a number of other considerations that are going to put us not in the condition to make the right decision, to know what is the right decision, but to make the right decision. That's why we believe this course is extremely important. So, moving on. Some insights from the lectures. I'll hand over a lecture to you, but here just a small list of themes. We will start from the relationship between technology and society. How to represent and describe the society that we live in with the spread of information technology. Behind the concept of information society and the birth of the network society by Manuel Castells, one of the giants that we are going to study in our course, which is the impact of information technologies on economic structure and productivity. Major issue. From networks to platforms, new challenges to be managed. Professor Bellini will further develop this concept. Just two issues I would address, two key issues. First one, the digital cleaving power. What does to cleave means in English? Not just. It means cut and paste. Has a bionic kind of meaning. To cleave has a twofold meanings. To split or sever something, correct. To stick faster or adhere strongly something to something. So, it means at the same time cut and paste. It depends, of course, on the context. Professor Floridi says the digital cuts and pastes our reality. It splits apart and fuses the atoms of our modern experience and culture. Think about it. This means cutting localization, where physically I am, from presence, where I interactively am. At the same time, it's the first time in the history that you have the kind of splitting that's possible. Cutting usage from legal property, the sharing economy. At the end of the day, you have the largest real estate companies in the world that don't own one apartment. Passing personal identity and personal information. By welding a personal individual self, they profile their personal information together. The IT wallet puts together all these digital elements of identity. So cutting and pasting. We are going to see how this play of cutting and pasting is at the basis of the most important engine of innovation of our age. As Professor Floridi says, the basic factor of the innovation is design, because with digital you can do whatever you want, provided that you know what you want by this process of cutting and pasting different aspects of reality. Second aspect that you're going to delve a lot into is artificial intelligence. And here, you're going to have good fun. There are a lot of informal definitions of artificial intelligence, and we are going to go through them and delve into them. I like this one from Mustafa Suleyman. If you didn't read this book, The New Wave, The Coming Wave, I definitely suggest you to read it. It's great reading. And when he says AI is not just a tool of platform, but a transformative meta-technology, the technology behind technology and everything else, itself a maker of tools and platform, not just a system, but a generator of systems of any and all kinds. And on the basis of this, he writes the entire conceptual building of his thought. So the coming wave, what I was saying, AI and synthetic biology, the two main streams that are going to be the bulk of the basic meta technologies on the basis of which a lot of future developments are going to spring. And yet, they produce tail risk on a deeply concerning scale, and the issue of containment and the need for understanding social and ethical implications. And here we are going to discuss the relationship between innovation and regulation. I was attending a conference of the Minister of Finance, French Minister of Finance, that was saying regulation is nice, but innovation is better. And many are sharing this opinion. But there are aspects that you need, of course, to take into account. And this is going to be addressed both in this module and in the module of Professor Ricci, talking, of course, about the aspects of the regulation that you have to take into account. The AI law, that's the AI Act, of course, or the GDPR, that are essential part, of course, of whatever job you're going to do. So here we are going to start. So I will invite Professor Bellini to address with you the first part, 4 lectures that we are going to.
Yes, so you will follow with me the 4 lectures on Friday, and then next week, and the last one will be on the next Monday. And my role in this course is to provide you with some basics, with some definitions that are important in order to understand what is going on today in terms of impact of digital technologies, the impact of AI in our society and our economy. Because sometimes, or maybe often, these terms are used not really improperly, let me say. And so I think that it's a good start to understand what terms like technology or society or, again, digital economy or platform society or digital society, what does this mean for us, for our living today, for our work. And in particular, on Friday, next Friday, and next Monday, we will look at this idea of the relationship between technology and society. So, because, well, in general terms, you can think it's something easy. So I have technology and society, and somehow I have a relationship, some impacts. but we will look more in depth in this because it's not so simple, it's not so easy, and also we can have different perspective of this relationship. So technology is an endogenous force, is an exogenous force, which is the role of technology in our society, and we can have different theories, different perspective that can have an impact in our life. And in particular, we will also then make another. The slide is perché adesso sparisce tutto qua. Ok. Non tocco nulla. And in particular, we will go more in depth in the role of digital technologies in our society today, and we will. I will present you some theories, some theories from major researchers in this area, explaining the role of, for example, information technologies, communication technologies in what is called today the information age. And we will arrive to define the network society. As Professor Mazero said, is a major concept introduced, made famous by Manuel Castel, which is a Spanish sociologist, in the end of the last century. But you will see it's something that is really modern and also contemporary for our society today. So 20 years, but it's seem not so a long time. And then we will, in the last part of our lectures, we will look at the impact of technology on some specific aspect of society, and in particular of our economy. We will start looking at the impact of information technologies, digital technologies on economic structures. So we will see that with this technology, we are experiencing major changes also in how companies are working, how they are generating value, and also the mechanism of competitiveness of companies and in the market, and also of states in the market. And in particular, we will look at the perspective of Acemoglu, who last year he won the Nobel Prize for economy because he studied the relationship, the impact of, in particular, of information technologies, but in general of innovation, digital technologies on jobs and on the working environment. So we will look that again, not only in the economy, but also in the job market, something is changing. And this means then you will see more in depth with Professor Mazero after my lectures that this is some ethical and social implication for all of us. And in our last lecture, we will go more in depth in this other concept, these other ideas, that is the network society and the network economy. So with, again, information technologies, with digital technologies, we saw the rises of these platforms, digital platforms. So for example, just to make it simple, companies like Amazon or Google are considered platform companies, but again, we can have also societies that can be considered like platforms. So we will go more in depth in this idea of a platform and digital platforms and the role in our society and economy. So starting from some basics, some definition, we will go with some, we will go more in depth in some other aspect in order to understand why we are talking of information age, a social, a digital society, and a digital economy, and which are the drivers of this society, in an economy, and which are the differences from before. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So thank you very much. So these are the first 4 lectures that you are going to attend and participate, of course. I believe that on some of these themes, for example, the platform economy, you're going to have a lot of discussion, of course, because certainly you're going to be very active inside the platform economy and the hub economy. And this is the second part of IIS course. And so I will be back with you on October 17, yes, up to November 3rd. And what we are going to discuss? How ICTs have changed in the philosophy, ecology, and ethics of information. We'll start from going deeply into the concept of technological evolution, scientific evolution, and mental evolutions. And we are going to work on two books. One is Floridi, Luciano Floridi. That's a wonderful book. It's being published a few years ago. I have to say that Luciano Floridi is the most important philosopher of the digital information, about the digital age, certainly in Europe, probably worldwide. And I have the honor of having him as a friend. So we've been working together on a number of things, and a number of events, for example. And however, I have to recognize that from the conceptual standpoint, is the best picture that I could share in an introductory course. From the technological standpoint, it's not completely up to date. And therefore, from the technological standpoint, we are going to challenge Floridi. So we are not going to use simply the book as something to passively study. Everything that you read, please challenge it. And today, we are going to challenge some of the definitions of Floridi. Because, of course, the technology is so fast that you need, of course, to update continuously the concepts that there are inside. You'll find a number of concepts, of course, that when you're going to talk about the Moore's law, or about the Metcalfe's law, or about issues related to bandwidth, or related to connectivity, or to storage. All these kind of things, of course, are so fast, going so fast. The quantum computing, that need challenging, and we build from this standpoint. So, what you need in order to have, I anticipate this thing. What do you need in order to have a brilliant exam? You need, number one, study, certainly the textbook. I gave you just one textbook, Floridi. Second, don't give anything for granted. Challenge everything that you read on this book, because the conceptual picture framework is great. Some of the issues can be discussed, of course. Second, use all the slides of this course. We are going to make available on the e-learning platform all the slides and all the videos, provided we don't have technical glitches. And because of why don't I anticipate the question that I always get. Why don't I give you in advance the slides? Because I don't want to have stochastic parrots. I want to have people sharpening their own brain. And therefore, we are building on each concept, and you are going to have the slides after, not before. And the last thing that you need to do is to look at all this, and the last thing that you have to do in an ideal world is attend the lectures, because lectures are a mutual exchange exercise that's enriching both. And everything that you say, for me, is a bit or that you don't say, is a bit of information about you for me. I make up my own opinion about yourself from how you react, from what you say, from what you don't say, from your body language. Because, of course, and very often it's very important because I understand you don't understand, and so it's my fault. Because in general, of course, you're here in order to attend, no? Therefore, if you are not attending actually, you are not there with your mind, this means that there is something wrong for me, and it's a signal for me. That's why it's so important to attend. And therefore, from this standpoint, I have anticipated this part, but I believe it's very relevant. So we are going to talk about technological revolutions, scientific revolution, mental revolution. So the difference from the fundamental scientific revolutions, technological revolution, are revolutions that are related to the change of the ownership and the structure of the means of production. While scientific revolution are a change of paradigm that's changing the way the humankind is looking at the world and seeing themselves inside the world. The Copernican revolution, the Darwinian revolution, the Freudian revolution, and in some way the information revolution are all changes of the positioning of the human being and the humankind inside the world. Politics, democracy, society in the digital age. So, this is still important. How does the digital economy and the information economy changing, the information society changing the relationship with the politics? And here we are going to talk about human beings as interfaces. We are going to discuss before the concept of interface, before from the technological standpoint. And we see it's very relevant. But from the human standpoint, conceiving human beings, the dilemma that we are going to raise is conceiving human beings as interfaces is ethically acceptable. Remember Kant. Immanuel Kant was saying, consider human being as an end and not as a means. And this is a absolutely essential message. From this standpoint, when I considered as an interface between the political community and my votes, or between the banking community and my money, is this ethically acceptable? And we are going to address and go in depth in this concept. The impact of digital innovation on growth, employment, and wealth distribution, Professor Bellini already addressed this. We are going to see, even in particular, the concept of the impact on productivity. That's at the basis of everything. Because we expected that the digital will produce incredible growth in productivity. This was true from 1985 to year 2008, more or less. And then the productivity, or the total factor of productivity went dramatically down. What's happening? With all these incredible messages that are coming from the big companies about digital enhancing efficiency and productivity. Yes, it's true for certain industries. But overall, there is a fall of productivity. Overall. Why? We are going to study why. And we are going to see which are, of course, the ways to address this thing. Darren Acemoglu, from this standpoint, is a great lecture. Theoretical, social, and ethical issues related to artificial intelligence. This is a great. You won't believe me, but not much that I can do. The only thing that I can do is nothing, as the lieutenant. Here, there is an incredible amount of thought that has been poured. A relationship between productive and reproductive, between strong and weak artificial intelligence. Concepts like the predictive, agency, agentic artificial intelligence. Like, not to talk about general artificial intelligence. The issue of the sensing machine. A major issue that you are going to certainly to address together and to discuss together. Human on the loop, I have already addressed. The role of humanity in automated decision making, the ethics of artificial intelligence in defense and outside. Good. This is the more or less the road that we are going to go through together. Final presentation of the working groups. The final lectures is going to be the funniest of all because you will do it. So at the end of the course, you will be invited to, this is optional of course, but if you want to get from 0 to 3 points additional on top of your grade that you're going to get from the written exam, you certainly have to go through this path. And this means, I'll show you how, that you're going to be invited to develop a team project and to present it. To present it in 15 minutes, group of the maximum of 3 people, 2-3 people that are going to come here, present to the audience, and are going to be evaluated on the basis of the originality, content, and quality of presentation. Now, moving on. Cavoli, oddio. No. No. Che succede qui?
Insomma, è molto strano tutto questo.
Questo qui. Okay, vediamo se funziona. Disinform. So, lectures will be held according to the following program. Lectures, as Professor Ballini said, on October 3, 6, 10, 13, will be held by Professor Bellini. From 17 to November 3 by myself. The final lecture will be held by me on January 9th. Why? Because, of course, I need to work a lot on this lecture. And I need to work on this lecture on the basis of the road that we are going to be go through together. So I'm going to build it custom for you. And starting from November 3rd, the lectures of juridical will be held by Professor Stefano Ricci according to the calendar that he will announce. Interaction with the class is appreciated. I have already said that I don't like stochastic parrots. I believe that we understood each other. However, with the aim of facilitating the active participation, in particular the working students, all the lectures will be available in video and slide on the e-learning platform up to September 2026. This is the full program of the course. We are going to update, of course, the syllabus properly at this point, but you have it here. Don't worry, you're going to get available the slide immediately tomorrow morning. And so here you have everything, the whole plan of the lectures. Final assessment. The final grade. So at the end of the day, how do I get my grades? Simple. The final grade will be recorded once the student has taken the exam for both modules. SIIS, JIIS. Students must register separately for each module. Preferably, take both exams in the same session by the end of the academic year. Certainly, by the end of the academic year. Certainly, you can give the exam even later, but it's not guaranteed at all that the program will not change. And if the program will change, of course, you need to be aligned with the new program that's going to be available in year 26-27. So it's your risk. Don't take this risk. Pass this exam before. The final grade will be calculated as the average of the grades obtained in the 2 exams, as rounded up to the next whole number. So substantially, you get 25 in one, 30 in the one and the other one, 27.5, 28 is your vote. Clear enough? Clear. The math is simple. Now, as far as the exam of social information society issues, it's a written exam. You have plenty. really like to have the chance of having oral exam because it's different. The relationship with the people is different. You understand a lot more. But basically, we have already my mindset about many of you at that point. So I'm conditioned even to evaluate properly, to have other criteria of evaluation. So 6 open questions in 2 hours. No closed question. All open, not no quiz, no bullshit like this. All open questions. And don't believe that ChatGPT will save you. Because, of course, each of us professors is engaged in the fight in order to do something smarter, enabling, at the end we are going to lose. But in the meantime, it's a nice fight. And therefore, what I'm going to ask is are not platitudes, are questions challenging your understanding of the key issues that you are going to have addressed. Horizontal connections, capability of understanding how different topics relate to each other. This is what we want to see. And ma che scusate, non so che cazzo fare qui. Boh. Allora, dunque.
Usare il mouse, non so perché.
Sì, ho capito. Boh. And as I said, additional point from 0 to 3 can be added to the grade of the written exam with the take-home assignment. For students who enrolled in the course in previous years, the exam will be conducted in the language of their year enrollment, which could be English or Italian. Unfortunately, we started in 2021 with English lectures. Therefore, either you've been here for 5 years, you were unable to get through it, or otherwise the exam is in English. What do you need to excel in your exam? I already told you. Take-home assignment. What are we talking about? Well, hundreds of your colleagues already went through our home assignments. So it's enough that you ask your colleagues. But students may develop an optional take-home assignment. In groups of 2 or 3 are expected to deliver by January 5th, 2026, a report written in English on no more than 5 pages, plus tables, figures, and methodology notes. You can have an attachment of 50 pages. Don't care. But I want you tell me this precise thing. Answer this question. Keep it in mind. Where is the beef? No bullshit. Where is the beef? That's the question. You address a team and you go to the point and you possibly come out with some real substance at the end, and possibly with an action point. Which are the actionable consequences of your study? A PowerPoint presentation, of course. Possible process, contents. In-depth discussion of one of the topics of the paper covered in the course of lectures. If you find something that particularly stimulating for you, you come here and we discuss it. And we decided in advance. You can't say, Professor, we'd like to develop this concept. We would like to go deeper. And we share it. Development of a team consistent with the contents of the objective of the course. This is very general, you understand. Up to the level that you can present a plan for a startup. Somebody did it. Somebody did also the startup. So, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of freedom, but there must be, how to say, a consensus. There is a process according to which we discuss it. And an abstract of the project must be delivered by November 10th, 2025. So after 7 days from the end of the course, you should definitely send us, both of us, your projects, your abstracts. They should include 3 simple things: objectives, contents, and methodology. 1 page is enough, but juicy. And a public presentation of all the projects will take place during the last course lecture on January 16 at 9 o'clock. 15 minutes per group. I hope that we are going to have enough group to fill a room. In this case, it's going to be, how to say, a physical presentation. A lot better than a virtual presentation. Assessment, of course, must be competitive. There is the trick. Because otherwise, you could hope to everybody to get 3 points. Leveraging on the benevolence of the professors. It's not like this. The life is different. Life is cruel, it's tougher. So up to a maximum of 33% of students of groups can score 3 points. Up to a maximum, that doesn't mean that 1/3 gets 3 points. You can even get nobody getting 3 points if they don't deserve it. Up to a maximum of 32% of students can score 2 points. The other projects can score up to 1 point. Up to 1 point, because 0 is an option. The assessment criteria of the projects are originality, content, presentation. As I said, these are the rules of the play. Simple enough? Questions? If not, it means that either I've been very clear or not. In this case, you ask us personally. Better asking us personally than writing an email. Email is a horrible way of communicating. What about ChatGPT? The question, of course. No. Well, ChatGPT, can I use it? This is a naive question, of course. Of course, there is a fundamental issue of mutual respect and trust. So certainly you can use it. It's a tool, like any other form of similar product like ChatGPT that you can use, whatever you can use. The problem is not what you use. The problem is how you use it. So what I'm asking you is to tell us how you used it. And how you exercise your critical thinking skills, which are the resources you utilized, how you added value on top of all of them. Because you present as just ChatGPT is a failure from you. This means that in life, your added value in the company that you're going to go is 0. And probably your career perspective will be the same. So, textbook, as I said, we kept it simple, really straightforward. A textbook that you are going to use as a reference and as a challenge. Both kind of use. A couple of suggested reading that I've added. The first is Alessandro Baricco. Alessandro Baricco, I don't know if you like him as a novelist. I hated him. Then he wrote this book, The Game. Fascinating. Read it. If you didn't read it, read it. You're going to use it a lot when you're going to discuss the concept of scientific, technical, technological, and mental revolutions. And Luciano Floridi wrote a lot of stuff about the logic of the digital, about the philosophy of the digital, about the ethics of the digital. Is writing a lot, and so is late in updating his book. And however, this is a brilliant mind, and therefore we are gonna. I certainly would suggest you, if you want to go deeper into his personal thinking, to read The Ethics of Artificial Intelligence. Pretty difficult book, but semi-worthwhile. But these are suggested readings. On top of this, you're going to get a lot of stuff. So you're going to suggest you article, papers, books. You're going to read a lot during this course, if you want. You're not obliged. It's your choice, how deep you want to go. Second module, Juridical Issues in Information Society. The course of Professor Ricci couldn't be here today. He asked him to present a couple of slides summarizing the content and objectives of this course. The course explores the critical intersection between law and digital technologies in our rapidly evolving information society. We'll examine how legal frameworks adapt to technological advances and the profound implications for society. So, going a little bit more in detail, talking about 4 areas: digital law interaction. And here, the objective of Professor Ricci is to understand how law interacts with digital technology and analyze regulatory evolution shaping our digital environment. Juridical implications, ethical, legal, and social implications of information technology. Critical awareness, promote critical awareness, the use of development of digital systems for data scientists, legal experts, and policymakers, and legal application. And here we are talking about tools, providing tools to interpret and apply legal norms in advanced technological contexts, including AI, data protection, and cybersecurity. And more in detail, talking about law and technology, data protection. GDPR, of course, is an essential prerequisite for whatever activity that you're doing in this business. Network security, so information system regulation and risk-based approaches. AI regulation, so the EU AI Act 2024. More again, recently, last week, Italy has approved a law on AI that further specifying the issues that are described in the general framework of the AI Act. You will certainly go through it. Digital Services Act and intermediate liability frameworks. You know that there is a lot of conflicts on international level with the international companies, in particular American companies, about issues that are related to digital services. The recent big fines that are being issued by the European Union in this direction, of course, are just the top of the iceberg of a big conflict that's in the facts. Digital identity, ADAS regulation, and European digital identity wallet, and compliance and cybercrime. All these issues are going to be covered by the course of Professor Ricci. And with this, I end the first part of what I wanted to discuss with you today. And before moving to the second one, I definitely like to satisfy, if I can, all possible questions, curiosity, legitimate demands that you can raise. Please. Don't take questions? Really? Your body language, tell me that Hussein probably has a question. No question. That's always better to have a question ready. You understand? You make yourself well known. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm a bit deaf. And no, I come here. I come there because. Yeah. The only prerequisite that you have to have is a general knowledge of, how to say, Starting from starting the social, the question is, the colleagues saw that we are going to finish the first part of the course on November 3rd, and then we're going to start with another lecture on January 9th, and we're going to have a final presentation on the 15th of January. So there is a gap. The great gap is going to be filled by the lectures of Professor Stefano Vicci. So substantially, this is the end of the social part. Then you have the juridical part, and then we finish on the 9th of January with the last lecture that we have. On the 16th, we're going to have, and the following week, I believe we are going to have the first exam. We are going to have 3 exams in the winter session. And so you're going to have huge opportunities. Don't speed up. It's not necessary that you give it immediately. Better come prepared than the rush. Don't rush. There is no need to rush. We have a lot of time. Yes.
About the presentation, you said that we can do the presentation for social information society. Is it work for juridical part of the
part of the juridical part is going to be addressed by Professor Rich.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of specific projects that you want to undertake, of course. Okay.
Also, for the exam, our exam is separated from the one of Professor Rich, so 2 different moments, and then we make the average of the 2.
In general, it was this way.
It's like 2 courses into one.
No, it was this way. That on Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. there is the written exam of social issues in computer science. At 4 p.m. there is the exam of juridical. So basically, Stefano and I are trying to keep together the 2 exams. No, of course it's a lot simpler, more efficient. In general, it's like this. But you have to register separately. Okay?
And also the 3 points are added to our grade.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For social. Then
Exactly.
you will have a grade for juridical, and you can have a grade.
3 points are added to the whole the grade that you get in social. Okay? No, you cannot bring anything. You cannot bring neither the text, nor the file, nor the USB, nor whatever. The exam is something where you can bring just your brain. And of course, internet will be excluded, and it's like being on the top of a mountain.
I have a question.
Yes.
About exams, videos, and syllabus. So we are probably on the same side with this table of lectures on one platform. Videos, syllabus,
Moving on. So quanto abbiamo? 36, ce la facciamo tranquilli. In general, I would suggest to make a break, but considering that we have still some ground to cover, I would suggest for this time we don't have a break in order to make sure that you can be free, certainly at 4:15. Yes. So, moving on to the shift from the cognitive revolution to the information society. We are starting from very far. So, this part is just for setting a ground for the first part. There's going to be the relationship between technology and society that's going to be addressed by Professor Bellini. And then for the first lectures about philosophical issues that are related to the information society that I'm going to address on the 17th. But it's important to have a prerequisite. And I wanted to, I've developed this part. There's substantially a comparison between the thought of an Israeli academic, that's Yuval Harari. Any of you know him? The author of *Sapiens*? See that you know it. And yes, I would definitely suggest you to look at this academic. He is a brilliant mind, certainly. And the book that we would suggest is *Sapiens*, the first book. He wrote a lot of other ones. But certainly believe that the first one. Did you read other books? Did you read other books of Harari? Okay, the second one. And you didn't read the last one? That's the bestseller? No. But it's not worthwhile. The first ones are the best ones, certainly. So, Yuval Harari, therefore, it's *Sapiens*. You find it in English, in Italian, whatever you want. It's a very interesting lecture. You see some of the concepts addressed now. And Luciano Floridi, the 3 ages of the human development. You're going to compare or to connect these two concepts. So we start from a nice picture of family. There's like classification of living beings. So, more or less 3 million years ago, a female monkey in Eastern Africa gave birth to 2 female small monkeys. One of them was an orango, and the other one was our grandmother. Because both of us belong to a family, the family of hominidae, orangutans, gorillas, chimps, human beings. Families tend to be traced back to a single matriarch or patriarch, Australopithecus, this original monkey. Genus includes very similar species which can mate but can produce new fertile organisms. Certainly, we have a genus that's Homo and a species that's Sapiens. There are other species, Neanderthal and many others. And species are a category of animals which tend to mate with one another and produce fertile offspring. For example, donkeys and horses, you know, that can mate but cannot, can just produce offspring which are not fertile, and I believe our friend biologist can certainly testify this. And so, here we have a genus Homo and a species Sapiens, or a genus Homo and a species That's Neanderthal. Ma dove cazzo? Ah, ecco. Now, this is a picture that certainly you recognize. The cognitive evolution. So according to Harari, more or less 70,000 years ago, the sapiens that were smaller, weaker than the Neanderthal started spreading around from their original locations. And in 40,000 years, they caused the extinction of all the Neanderthals on the Earth. How the hell is possible that these weak, small guys could get rid of a genus that was lost stronger in a relatively short time, 40,000 years? Somebody refers it to a higher level of technology and better social organization. But that's not the cause. Because what's behind the higher level of technology and better social organization? Why were the sapiens better organized? So better organized to be able to get rid of these strong giants that were the Neanderthals. There are two theories. And this is what can have happened. The first is the theory of hybridization and fusion. And so substantially, it's possible that they were so pervasive to be able to hybridize the Neanderthal and to take them over from the ethical standpoint. But the other theory is a theory of the replacement. It's the theory of the first, probably, ethnic cleansing of the history. So, probably the sapiens took advantage of their superior level of technology and better social organization in order to clean the ground of any presence of the Neanderthals over those limited, relatively limited period of 40,000 years. So, it boils down to a higher level of technology and better social organization. In any case, 30,000 years ago, the sapiens was the only player in town. All this boils down, according to Harari, to the discovery of the language. Discovery of the language that enables the opportunity of building a social organization. Communication has been enabled by, this seems a bit ridiculous. There are two theories here about the language. The first one, alarm signal. There is the lion close to the river. And it's something, of course, that's getting together the community or building the community, because, of course, you can face the lion in many people than alone. The second theory is more funny, and it's gossip. A theory says that people have been taking advantage and taking a lot of pleasure in gossiping. And gossiping has been, in a certain way, a cement in order to glue the community together. Probably both. But in any case, certainly the language has been a superior factor that enables the building of communities that have been the tool for the sapiens taking over the Neanderthals. There is another step, because connected to the language, there is the concept of the abstract thinking. the discovery of the abstract thinking. Abstract thinking brings the building of the community to superior level, because abstract thinking enables, for example, the myths, i miti, enables building community around things that don't exist. I wouldn't sound bad, but for example, religions, or about, in any case, values that are shared by community. So from this standpoint, this enables what we have defined as the cognitive evolution. The discovery of the invention of the language, the discovery of the abstract thinking enables a lot of new abilities, providing higher volumes of information concerning the world around Homo sapiens. The consequence is planning and carrying out complex actions, such as escaping from lions, hunting bison. New abilities like providing higher volumes of information about social relationship among Homo sapiens. This enabled the formation of large and more close-knit groups, up to 150 individuals. According to many important sociological theories, even today, the largest number of people that you can really manage inside a group is 150. And providing information about things which don't exist in reality, such as tribal spirits, nations, limited liability companies, human rights. Well, here we come, of course, a few thousand years later. But this, as a consequence, as a cooperation among very high numbers of strangers, thanks to the belief in shared myths and in rapid innovation in social behavior. So this is the bulk of the cognitive evolution according to Harari. Language and abstract thinking myths that are welding communities around and enabling, of course, to act as a powerful weapon that brought to conquering the world. Here we come to the Neolithic Revolution. 10,000 years before Christ. The first of several agricultural revolutions which have occurred through human history. So substantially, before we had a people of hunters, and here we have a transition from a subsistence economy based on hunting and gathering to the domestication of animals and the cultivation of plants. This was painful phenomenon. It's just harder to cultivate and to work on the cultivation of plants and so on than the former life. Of course, bodies suffered a lot in this process, but certainly this brought to major progresses. Discovery of agriculture, the pottery, sedentary lifestyle, trade, navigation, the birth of cities. And here we come to the invention of writing, the system of data recording invented by the Sumerian between 3500 and 3000 before Christ. So that's, in brief, the path that Yuval Harari is covering in the first part of his book, Sapiens, that I suggest you certainly to look at if you have the opportunity. And here is the concept of cognitive evolution that he has. So how does this relate to the concept of information age of Professor Floridi? According to Professor Floridi, the shift from prehistory to hyperhistory happens, the ring of connection between the two theories is exactly the discovery of writing by Sumerians. Because in 2500 before Christ, we have discovered the clay tables, tavolette di terracotta, in the city of Ur. And this was a major, major progress because it's the first time that we have information and communication technologies entering the history. Before we didn't have, in prehistory, we didn't have any information technology. In this moment, history starts in the moment where information technology enters the information age. History, I will move on to this picture. Substantial life cycle of information works a little bit this way. Before you create the information, you generate the information, you collect it and you store it. That's what the Sumerians were doing with the clay tables. Are the first ICT technologies in the history. It took more or less 6,000 years, from 10,000 before Christ to 3,000 after Christ, before Christ, and 2,500, in order to go, therefore, from the beginning of the Neolithic revolution to the Bronze Age. And the entry and the movement from prehistory and history, according to Floridi. It took other 6,000 years from the Bronze Age up to today in order to move in the process of processing the information and distributing, consuming, recycling. Because this moves substantially from the invention of the press by Gutenberg in the 15th century to the period up to Turing. We are going to review this in our course. And therefore we have a period in which we have more and more relevance of the ICTs, in which the ICTs are more and more relevant. But history started in a moment when ICTs entered the social world, is characterized not substantially by ICTs, because social individual well-being is not linked basically to the ICTs. It's linked more and more to the energy. Therefore, the Industrial Revolution substantially is the key point of this process, of the historical process. Hyperhistory starts in the moment when social and individual well-being are depending on ICTs. I have to say that substantially all the largest countries of the world, the most advanced countries of the world that have GDP, more than 70% is tied to information services and not to physical goods. We are going to review this process. So substantially, in the moment where most of the society and the economy are strictly related and dependent on ICTs, you enter the period of hyperhistory. Conventionally, is 1954 the year of the death of Turing. So substantially, this is the categorization that's proposed by Floridi. You find it clearly described in the first chapter of his book. And it's important, of course, to understand even the concept, the relationship that there is between the life cycle of information and the shift from prehistory to hyperhistory. Now, Now we are in the hyperhistorical age. So we move from the sapiens to the hyperhistorical age. Our society is a hyperhistorical society, heavily dependent on ICTs. Good. What are the main factors which accelerate the transition to the information society and making more and more compulsive these characteristics? I quote two, Moore's law, Metcalfe's law. Considering that most of you come from informatics, I'm sure that some of you will want to share the definition of the Moore's law. Cannot believe it. No, no. I got you. No. Somebody else. Moore's law, my friends. Come on, don't be shy. On a let's try basis, come on. Moore's law. Okay, it's the first day, but this shouldn't happen again. Huh? Clear? Okay, I'll give you the Moore's law. The complexity of a microcircuit, measured, for example, by the number of transistors per chip, doubles every 18 months and therefore quadruples every 3 years. God, you knew this. I cannot believe that you didn't remember this thing. It's platitude. It's platitude. And see, Moore's law, that's nice. Is it true? Is it still true? So? If you want to share your thoughts. Can you really, we have a problem of... It's old. And it shows. It's very old. This is the typical exercise that you should do, challenging the, how to say, the common wisdom. Moore's law is like the common wisdom. Common wisdom is that the complexity of a microcircuit has been true. You understand when Moore announced his law? 1995, 30 years ago. God, it's possible that something that was said 30 years ago is still valid with all what's happening. We are going to see it in a moment. We are going to challenge it. Good. Come back. Move on to the next one. Metcalfe's law. No, go back. Metcalfe's law. Who knows the Metcalfe's law? Guys, what have you been doing at informatics? Anybody knows Bob Metcalfe? Bob Metcalfe, the inventor of the Ethernet. The Ethernet, not Internet. And Bob Metcalfe was a genius, inventor of the Ethernet. And was a strange guy. Was he's been in his life the director of Computer World, the magazine. And he's been proud he's been a friend of mine. And he's still alive, I believe. And Bob was a person, very original person, because I remember that in 2000, he announced on the book that Internet would collapse by the end of the year. And he said that if this didn't happen, he would eat physically his own article on the stage. And Internet didn't collapse. So a major conference that I organized in Paris, I invited Bob on the stage. I provided a copy of his articles, and he make a bowl of it, put it in his mouth, and ate it. So Bob is a person that does what he says. Bob Metcalfe announced this law that says that the value of a network is proportional to the square of the number of its connected nodes or users. So the value of the network is equal to the number of the nodes or connected users to the power of 2. Still valid? Still true? Could we challenge it? Yeah, of course. It depends. We are going to see. That's exactly the core of the discussion. I go back, first of all, to Moore's law. The complexity of a microcircuit measured by the number of transistors per chip doubles every 18 months. Good. This has been the guiding principle of exponential growth in classical computing power. It's fundamental about miniaturization and scaling of silicon, and of course about the economics of the digital economy. Because you understand that if the power is growing a lot more than the cost, you get a growing efficiency, incredible efficiency. That's why Intel became, at a certain point, now is close to bankruptcy, but became at a certain point the top company in the world. Everything had Intel inside. Now, what's challenging the Moore's law? Quantum computing. Quantum computing, why quantum computing? Because Moore's law is tied to classical transistor density. So basically, if you increase the density of the computer, you get, of course, an increasing efficiency in classical bits and states. But quantum computers don't rely on transistors, but on qubits, which exploits superposition and entanglement. Instead of simply doubling transistor count, the computational capacity of a quantum system grows exponentially with the number of qubits. And this exponential leap outpaces Moore's law in principle. I will skip this one. Physical limits of Moore's law versus quantum new frontier. Moore's law is running into atomic scale barriers. There are physical barriers for the Moore's law that are heat, leakage, quantum tunneling in transistors. Quantum computers leverage these quantum effects instead of being hindered by them. So quantum is just a continuation of Moore's law. It's a paradigm shift beyond it. And I'd like to participate to your discussion. Oh yeah, of course we don't have, but it's the future. It's clear. We don't have. So you believe that on the opposite, you raise a question about the. Okay, good. May I suggest you to develop this concept? So the concept. Why don't you take this one? A couple of colleagues, if you want. Why don't you take Metcalfe law and Moore's law, and you develop pros and cons? So the possible scenarios. I'm challenging you, no? So that's work that we could share among us. In this moment, of course, I have just put different positions, of course. But if you want, of course. Now, let's go to Metcalfe's law. The value of a network is proportional to the square of the number of its connected nodes. Well, it seems to be simple, no? At the end of the day, if you put in them into a network, myself, yourself, your friend, the other friend, and the other one, and the value of the network grows I don't know if to the power of 2, like Bob says, but certainly grows a lot. But your colleague challenges us, says, how do you define the value of the network? And this has been raised by a number of critics. Of course, it's important because Bob quantified the value of the network. He said is equal to n times n minus 1 divided by 2, more or less n squared. But there are different considerations. A different value of the connections. Not all links are equally useful or active. Many connections are weak or unused. So basically, if in our connection, in our network, you never use it, the value of the network is not the same as if you use it. And this is the first consideration. Diminishing returns. Early growth has huge value. Later users add only marginal value. It's clear that the core, the bulk of the first users, of course, establishing a level of traffic that certainly increases the overall value. Network clustering. Real networks split into subgroups, and value is localized, not fully global. Look, for example, at the value of an edge configuration. From a cloud to an edge. Certainly, the value of the different edge computing networks is different. Negative externalities. Professor Bellini on negative externalities will teach you a lot. So from this standpoint, spam, noise, misinformation, toxicity can reduce net value as size increase. Not always is positive. There are positive externalities connected to the expansion of the network. Somebody cannot like it. And in this case, of course, this needs to be considered. Now, I didn't find a value that balancing all the shortfalls in the law of my friend Metcalfe. But certainly all these are elements that needs to be taken into account. And this is it. So, coming to the end, what are the main bottlenecks which hinder the shift of the information society? So, what are the bottlenecks that we have in front of us? The first one is being already stated by your colleagues, Quantum computing seems to be a future frontier, certainly, but when is going to materialize actually? Because it's true, of course. Real applications and technological problems that needs to be addressed are huge. But so the first one certainly is the computing power. Memory, connectivity, bandwidth, lack of shared standards. Lack of shared standards is interesting because in the history you have continuously, starting from the 70s of last year, an effort in order to establish standards, proprietary standards, and the pressure of the market to break them and to go to open standards. And then the industry going back to develop new traps, proprietary traps, in order to create small domains where to increase their profitability. So it's a continuous effort of opening and closing domains in this world. So lack of shared standards is certainly something that we are experiencing today in artificial intelligence. There is not a standard. And there are a lot of experience in open experiences. Open AI is certainly an area that many believe is extremely, extremely interesting to develop. So from this standpoint, certainly lack of shared standards. Well, I don't know if it can be, how to say, a bottleneck or an enhancer from this standpoint. This is an interesting issue. Misalignment between the speed of technological innovation and adaptation time of organizations. The debate about will artificial intelligence be able to enhance the productivity of the economy depends very much on this. Theoretically, yes. Goldman Sachs says that it could produce an increase of 7% of the overall productivity very quickly, provided that, of course, organizations are realigned quickly enough. But organizations have an inertia, have slacks, problem of realignment in terms of timing. So this issue of the realignment of technological innovation and the adaptation time organization is a major issue. And finally, the last thing that I would address is the tree of knowledge has an asynchronous development. So the metaphor of the information society is like a tree. Branches are chaotic. Technological branches are chaotic. So you see how many technologies are spreading from what we said before, from our definition of Mustafa Suleyman of artificial intelligence as a meta-technology from which a number of new platform technologies spring out. So chaotic. But the conceptual, ethical, and cultural roots are scrubby. So the dilemma of Lieutenant Petrov is something that is in front of us. So while certainly we have not a clear understanding, but pretty clear ideas at least about the trend of development of the technology, it's highly unclear what are the ethical, moral criteria paradigm that we should apply in order to use them for the good of the human mankind. And these are major problems. I believe that is something that we should probably devote some well-deserved time. With this, thank you for your attention, and that's the end of this lecture. And I stop the registration, non vedo la registrazione.